Look at this guy here. His name is Michael Peterson, who was convicted of murdering his second wife, Kathleen, who was found at the bottom of the stairs with 3 big bludgeoned marks on her skull with a lot of blood around her. Yet his defense for years was she fell down the stairs and hit her head 3 times, and that's what's called the 3 big blood trauma to her skull. He was convicted of murder with the first time round, because this happened twice. He had 2 trials and he got off. The second time round, I think what happened is that he pleaded guilty but not guilty. It's a certain type of law where he can go home if he pleads guilty. So that's what happened. So the man is actually guilty of murder, even though he pleaded guilty, which actually got him off the hook. But it was partly due to a scientist who lied to get him convicted, and that's why he was basically partly let go. So let's have a look at his body language.
There was, well, it was about 10 times worse than anything that ever happened, war, anything to me. I picked her up, and she was dying. There's just no question. I mean, I'd been to war. I mean, I knew she was dying. There's no doubt.
So he's closing his eyes a lot. For a long time. It's like you didn't want to know about this. Okay, fine. This is slightly quick time at the moment.
Not about it, but she was alive.
A lot of supporters, very close friends.
I must have done something. Did I have this many people who've been so kind and supportive and loving and wonderful all these?
So for those who don't know, there's a Netflix show about this called The Staircase. Very interesting, long documentaries though, that was really in his favour.
They've just been wonderful. Now, granted, there's some people that don't like me. That's fine.
And he closes his eyes. He doesn't like that.
I have wonderful people that have just been this kind and supportive. These are people that knew us. It's like my children. They know. In fact, somebody said to me the other day, they said, "Mike, you're guilty." And I said, "What?"
What? And he had contempt on his face. One lip went up. What? Contempt.
You know, no. They think you're guilty. That makes you guilty. And you see, that's always been my problem. I know I'm not guilty. I know I didn't hurt Kathy.
Okay, notice that. I know I'm not guilty. I know I didn't hurt Kathy. His head should be shaking at that point.
It's very difficult for me to accept the fact that I am a prisoner, a convicted murderer.
So he's very lighthearted about this. Okay, so he was convicted murderer. And unusually, he had a friend 20 years before in Germany who fell down the stairs and hurt her head as well. But they resumed the body and found out that she may have been bludgeoned to death as well. Interesting coincidence, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's just nonsense. But it's real. I understand that. And in here, it causes a little bit of tension because I don't see myself.
Okay, so what you got to understand is he's blubbering on. He's going on and on and on and on and on. He likes to control the situation, and he does love the camera, by the way. He's a bit of a narcissist, I'd say. He likes cameras. He likes things in his favour, as you would. And he's talking, filling in the blanks unnecessarily. And that's a deception mechanism.
As they see me. And of course, they're right. I am a prisoner, convicted killer.
And he's right. I am a prisoner and a convicted killer. Yes, his head went down. That is congruent.
I don't see myself that way because
he does see himself that way because his head went down with it.
Because I know better.
And he does know better. You know, that's congruent with what he's saying. It's so bizarre. His face is letting you know the truth.
Bisexuality.
Bisexuality, right. Okay.
Oh, it came out in the trial. He was a bisexual man, which the prosecution tried to really, play up big time so that they had an argument, he and Kathleen, and that's why he bludgeoned her.
Did Kathleen know?
Yes, of course. It just was not a major...
Let's go back and have a look at that again. Did Kathleen know about that?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Now, I'm going to play that in slow motion.
Kathleen know?
Yes, of course.
Okay. He closed his eyes. That's a deception mechanism, mannerism. Plus, he blinked a lot. That's stress. That's 2 different things right there. Long blink and quick fluttering of the eyes. That's 2 things. Plus, he's got a bit of duping delight going on.
It just was not a major factor.
Okay, you know what? It tells me that was a major factor. I haven't seen this interview, but what I'm seeing is a lot. So I think it was a major factor for him.
In our lives. I mean, it had nothing to do with love.
It had nothing to do with love. Interesting.
I'm very upset when you say something like that. There's love, and then there's sex. And that's what that was. I think
Yeah, so he's all over the place, really.
I'm stunned. I thought certainly all my children knew. I can't believe that they didn't know.
He's stunned that he couldn't believe that his children or Kathleen didn't know about his bisexuality. That's strange. This part is about, this is before the first trial, before he was convicted.
Kathleen and I were enormously happy. Always, always. I mean, every now and then God, if we ever argued, we couldn't have been more than a couple of minutes. And her favorite thing to do of all would be to throw herself on her bed.
He's very theatrical for a non-theatrical person, if you know what I'm saying. So saying that what he's doing is building up the marriage to make it seem perfect, like a really good relationship.
And she would run upstairs and she'd throw herself on the bed, and it was just hysterical. We could never, ever be mad at each other. Every time she'd get mad at me because I'd be at the gym too long or something like that. We didn't
Thinking hard.
We didn't compliment each other. That isn't even a good word. We just fit together perfectly. She was her
throwing his hands all over the place. He's trying to filibuster again. He's just filling in the blanks.
own person, God knows, and I was my own person.
God knows I was my own person, la la la. That's a qualifying statement. He's trying to qualify himself to you, the listener, the watcher.
But we just fitted around each other perfectly. So...
did you? Because your head's shaking. Completely incongruent.
I don't care what anybody says about anything. It just couldn't... It could not be... It's not true and it can't be true.
Okay, and his eyes were closing there. That's a mannerism. That's deception.
I know people think I obviously killed the person I love the most.
That I obviously, eyes closed. He didn't like that.
But I...
Tongue through the mouth. It could be showing off right now.
cannot say that bothers me.
And it does bother him because look at the hands. He's soothing himself.
Because it's not true. I couldn't live with that if that were true.
If that were true. Okay, interesting.
Well, it just wouldn't happen. So it's just one of those, you can't go there.
And notice his voice. It wouldn't happen. You know, it's not down in this deep resonance where normally our voice should be. And it changes when he talks about his children. When he talks about his children, he comes down and he's more congruent. He's more grounded when he talks about his love for his kids. But when he talks about Kathleen, he's all over the place.
Because it's too far beyond. And so therefore, I cannot.
Cannot. That's formal language. He should be saying can't.
See myself in the eyes of others as the projection, as the, what do they describe me as?
Notice what he's doing with his head. When a male touches the back of his head or neck, he is feeling very insecure. Women touch their hair rather than the back of their head or neck. He's trying to basically cover his neck. It's a subconscious thing.
The projection, as the, what do they describe me as today? The wife murderer. Right. I mean, you read that and you just, God, Lord, that looks awful.
It's like he's talking about himself in the third person. He's distancing himself from the trouble that he's caused.
But it's not me. It's
not me, again.
It just doesn't. Kathleen's favorite term was, that doesn't work. And it doesn't work for me, so I can't relate to it. Oh, Jesus.
This is really good acting right here. I'll give him almost an Oscar.
See, that's how much I try to keep it out, because I don't like to deal with it. I don't. How do you sum up? I can't. When I think of Kathleen, I think of laughter, I think of fun, I think of life.
Okay, good acting here, mate. But my overall assessment of him is that, yes, he is a murderer. He's a convicted murderer. He's admitted to being guilty of murdering, yet not at the same time. But I read in his body language a whole lot of inconsistencies. I found the Netflix video biased towards him, which probably helped him get out the second time. And I find that his children probably are in denial, or that if they know more, they're not letting on. I'm talking about the boys more so than the girls. The girls are genuinely just in denial that their father could do anything bad. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is The Dialogue. Please like, share and subscribe and all that jazz, and check out my Patreon page.